Well, hello and welcome. I'm Misheard from Misheard Song Lyrics Podcast. We're in season 3, episode 121, and I'm actually doing a Christmas misheard song lyric. We're doing Wham's Last Christmas, and the misheard lyrics is a crowded room, friends with tie-dye. And then the correct lyrics is a crowded room, friends with tired eyes. So my friend Cathy recently sang this karaoke version of the song, and it brought me back to Christmas of 1984. It brought me back to my teenage crush named Chris Stein, and we were at our junior high school dance, and I remember the song playing. It was a slow dance, and I got to dance it with him, and he was bathed in Ralph Lauren Polo cologne. And till this day, when I smell that scent or I hear the song, it reminds me of Mr. Chris Stein. And I think from what I know, I think he's a dentist or something in Arizona. So this is dedicated to you. I also thought for many years that this misheard song lyric was they were friends were wearing tie-dyed, which was big back then. But when Cathy sang this, I saw the actual lyrics on the karaoke monitor, and it actually said tired eyes. It's like, huh. So that's why I decided to do a episode of it. So here we go. So Last Christmas is a song by a British pop duo, Wham, and at that time it was Wham with that exclamation mark. And actually back then it was also known in the US as Wham exclamation mark UK. If you didn't know this already, they were an English pop duo formed in Bushey in 1979, and the duo consisted of George Michael and Andrew Ridgeley. They became one of the most commercially successful pop acts of the 1980s. They sold more than 30 million certified records worldwide from 1982 to 1986. That's a lot, especially back then where you had to physically go to the record store and buy the vinyl, or at this time the cassette tape, because that's what I have and I still have to this day. They were influenced by funk and soul music and presented themselves as this disinfected youth. That Wham's 1983 debut album called Fantastic actually focused on UK's unemployment problem and teen angst over adulthood. And it's their second studio album that I know very well, because that's the one I still own, the cassette tape, called Make It Bag in 1984. And it was a worldwide pop smash hit, charting #1 in both the UK and the US. And of course, associated with the MTV-driven second British invasion with Duran Duran and the likes of other acts, Depeche Mode of the US. The singles from the album, Wake Me Up Before You Go, that's when I fell in love with them, Everything She Wants, and Careless Whisper all topped the US Billboard Hot 100. Then in 1985, Wham made a highly publicized 10-day visit to China. I didn't know this. That was a first by a Western pop group, and the event was seen as a major watershed moment, increasing friendly relations between China and the West. So they also did something very political. And then in 1986, Wham! Exclamation mark, unfortunately broke up. At that time, I think Michael wanted to focus on creating music targeted to a more sophisticated adult market rather than the teen audience that I was part of at that time. So he wanted to do his single career. But before they separated ways, they did a farewell single called The Edge of Heaven. That's a beautiful song. If you haven't heard it, go to YouTube. And a greatest hits album titled The Final would be forthcoming, along with a farewell concert titled The Final. So if you were at that concert, I'd love to hear from you. And then at age 53, ironically, George Michael passed away, died from heart and liver disease at his home in Oxfordshire on Christmas Day. I didn't realize he died on Christmas Day. Ironic. 2016. So this next week when we hit Christmas here in the States, it will be about, 5 years ago that he passed on. And then upon hearing of Michael's death, Ridgeley paid his respects on Twitter, saying, quote unquote, heartbroken at the loss of my beloved friend Yog. So that must have been his maybe pet name for him. All right, so that was Wham, that was George Michael and Andrew Ridgeley. Let's go back to the song at hand, Last Christmas. It was originally released in December 1984. That's where I remember, because it was 84 at that time, on CBS Records internationally, and as a double A-side on Epic Records with Everything She Wants in the UK. Described as what they said a high watermark of mid-80s British synth pop songcraft, that's a quote unquote. It was written and actually produced by George Michael. I did not know he wrote it as well, and has been covered by many artists, which I'll mention later on during this podcast. During its initial release in 1984, Last Christmas spent 5 consecutive weeks at a #2 in the UK singles chart, and it was held off at the top spot by Band-Aid's Do They Know It's Christmas, in which also George Michael also performed in that song, so it never hit number one at that time. It was always resting at number two. Now I'm going to just do a little tangent. Ironically, if you remember the Band-Aid song done by Bob Geldof from Boomtown Racks, it kind of doesn't, I guess, translate well nowadays. You can realize how tone deaf we were back then, assuming that Africans need to know about our Christmas. And there were some cringeworthy lines, one specifically sung by Bono saying, "Tonight, thank God it's them instead of you." And when I did more research on this song, I actually found an article on mentalfloss.com titled Band-Aid, the Charitable and the Controversial History of Do They Know It's Christmas, written by a Jake Rosen back on 12/19/19. So today's the 19th that I'm filming this, which is ironic that I found this article. And it was actually updated just earlier this week on the 16th with some updates. So here's what I found on the article to give to Jake Rosen props. Quote unquote, "While the musical substance of Do They Know It's Christmas can be debated, critics were not necessarily concerned with his contributions to lyricism. Instead, they took umbrage at the fact that the song appeared to be pandering, portraying African residents as oblivious to Christmas." I agree with that. Worse was a 1986 expose in Spin magazine that reported proceeds from the song, as well as Geldof's follow-up projects, We Are the World and Live Aid, may have unintentionally helped African dictator Mengistu Haile Mariam buy weapons from Russia. Whoa. So there you go. Not only is it kind of tone deaf now, but there might have been those connections there. And I thought that was interesting to find that article that, of course, had today's date as well. So I think that was fate, that the podcast gods wanted me to share that with you. So the next thing is a did you know also. So I said for many weeks this song was always at number two. Well, after many chart runs in subsequent years, which included 3 more weeks at number 2 and which saw the recording become part of RCA Records' catalog, the song finally reached number 1 in the UK singles chart. Guess, not until New Year's Day of this year, 2021, chart week ending the date of January 7, 2021, more than 36 years after its initial release. So they finally hit first place, but 30 some years later. So I thought that was an interesting did you know. Also, prior to reaching that number 1 just this year alone, Last Christmas had for many years held the record as the highest selling single never to top the charts by the official charts company, OCC is their acronym, with 1.9 million copies sold, not including streams. This record is now held by Moves Like Jagger by Maroon 5 featuring Christina Aguilera. The tune reached number 1 in the UK after it was streamed 9.2 million times in the last week of 2020 and sold 1,555 downloads, resulting in a total of 40,149 combined sales. So that Last Christmas held that. Now it's Moves Like Jagger. Who knew? And then outside the UK, the song topped the charts in Denmark, Slovenia, Sweden, and peaked within the top 10 of the charts in several countries, including Australia, Germany, Ireland, and of course the US. The other part is, speaking of Africa and everything else, the second did you know is actually Wham donated all the royalties to relief efforts for the Ethiopian famine. So that's where this came. So I thought that was interesting. And then in a UK-wide poll in December 2012, it was voted 8th on the ITV television special, The Nation's Favorite Christmas Song, and was voted most popular song of the 1980s in Channel 5's Christmas 2020 countdown called Britain's Favorite 80s Songs. So there's a lot of love for this song. It was also the most played Christmas song of the 21st century in the UK until it was overtaken by a song called Fairy Tale of New York in 2015. I don't know that song, so I'll have to check that out. So a little bit about the song background. Last Christmas had its beginnings in 1904 while George Michael and Andrew Ridgeley were visiting Michael's parents. So what happened was apparently it was written by George Michael in his childhood bedroom. Michael played Ridgeley the introduction and chorus melody to Last Christmas, which Ridgeley later called, quote unquote, a moment of wonder. Well, he sure was right, because it's still being sung and loved to today. And then the song was recorded in August of 1984 at an Ad Vision Studios in London, England. George Michael wrote, performed, produced, and played every single instrument on the track. Did not know that. And he also, said Michael having plastered the studio in Christmas decorations to set the mood. That makes sense. The only other people in the studio were engineer Chris Porter and 2 assistants. And according to Porter, lyrically, you've got the happiest of the rhythm track, but against that, you've got the sadness of the unrequited love. So true. That's why it meant a lot to me, because I totally had this crush on, like I shared earlier, Mr. Chris Stein, but I don't know if he really realized how much I loved him. So the next Did You Know is, I guess there was some little controversy on this. On behalf of the writers that wrote the song Can't Smile Without, remember that? I can't smile without you, made popular by Barry Manilow. That publishing company called Dick James Music actually sued George Michael for plagiarism in the mid-'80s, saying that The Last Christmas lifted its melody from the former. I'm gonna have to listen to that. And the case was dismissed when a musicologist, yes, that's what they're called, presented 60-odd songs from the past century that had a comparable chord sequence and melody, so it was dropped. But all right, Can't Smile Without You could have some same sound with the song Last Christmas. Now the music video. Has anyone seen it lately? I have. I went to YouTube, millions and millions of views, but the video to Last Christmas was directed by Andrew Monahan, I think, yeah, Monahan, and it shows Wham members George Michaels and Andrew Ridgeley with their girlfriends to see friends at an unspecified ski resort cottage. The cable car that has been seen in 2 shots is from a Saas-Fee, Switzerland, where the video was filmed. But I think I thought that was interesting, is I quickly noticed everyone is bringing a duffel bag or 2 and skis, but no poles. But when they get off this far-off chalet, it seems like there's enough food, fun, and Christmas decorations to keep them busy. So I assume since it was pre-Airbnb time in the 80s, someone had to haul all that stuff in before the group took it over for a day or 2. Just logistics. I'm like, how's this all happening? And then it becomes really clear on the character Ridgeley's girlfriend, I guess played by a model named Cathy Hill, who was supposedly, you can tell in this video, there's like some hints of that she was in a relationship with the character in this video Michael plays, that the song is aimed at her. She has been spotted throughout the video by the fact that she's usually wearing red. So look for that. But everyone else is wearing more muted colors. You can always see her. It's almost kind of like the little girl with the red coat in the Schindler's List movie. I didn't realize, but there is also a brief flashback to a prior Christmas showing Michael's character presenting Cathy Hill with a jeweled brooch. In the present time, her now boyfriend that she's dating in the video, Andrew Ridgeley, is wearing the brooch. So we assume, oh, did she just take the gift that Mr. George Michael's character gave her and gave it to her new love, which is, of course, Andrew Ridgeley. But this time, it shows a close-up of it. When she had worn it originally, it's right side up. And when the Ridgeley's character wears it, it's upside down. So look for that. It's kind of these little Easter eggs. And then on numerous occasions, there's a lot of side glances, and Michael actually looks at her longingly, like, what could have been? And then it looks like, they're decorating Christmas tree. Some decorations fall, and of course, they're both sitting there, like looking at each other, but they don't say anything. It's just the tension. You can cut it with a knife. And then her seemingly indifference to Ridgeley's open displays of affection makes the viewer wonder, is he going to have his heart broken next? Because she had broken it with George Michael the last Christmas. And at the end of the video, everyone leaves the cottage, and when the group gets out of the cable car, they're all paired up with Michael and his new girlfriend looking happy. What I also didn't realize is the video also featured the duo's backing singers Pepsi and Shirley and Spandau Ballet bassist Martin Kemp. So you would recognize Martin Kemp. He's in the video as one of the friends that are at the cottage. And when you see the music video on YouTube, you'll notice a title that says 4K. So what does 4K mean? That's because it's since been rescanned in 4,000 or 4K definition from the original 35mm film. So the music video originally shot on movie film was released on December 13, 2019, so just about 2 years ago, in 4K Ultra HD resolution. So you'll see the difference. And then the music video's original film director, Andy Morahan, found the original 35mm rushes and worked closely with teams at Cinelab London, and VFX artist Ross Shaw at Nice Biscuits post-production to recreate the video using the higher resolution film. And then last but not least, I mentioned covers. There are hundreds of covers, but artists notably that covered the song is Ariana Grande, Carly Rae Jepsen, Rita Ora, Hilary Duff has done it, to name a few. I think also Taylor Swift did. So it is still a most beloved and highly covered song. And hopefully you learned a lot. I did. Also learned a lot about that. It was actually written by George Michael, and then he wrote and not only produced it, but did all the instruments in the song. That's amazing. And that he passed away on Christmas. How ironic. If you have any additional great ideas like this, of a misheard you want me to do, or if you want to be a guest, just send it to misheard, that's MISSHEARD songs@gmail.com, or go to any of our social media sites on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and you can catch us there. But would love to hear from you. And again, keep singing those songs wrong. Bye.